All right, whatever. Because it's only one day from 8 days to 9 days, and I see 2, and I'm wondering why. So I count, and I find 7 instead of 8 markings. All right, let me see if she got the next one right. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, that one's okay. I'm not going to check every one. She got the first one wrong. Wait a minute. It says day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, it's correct. My mistake. She didn't start with day 0. She starts with day 1. So we have severe wobble for 9 days. Then we have a static lean to the left. Where is left in space? Which way is up in space? What if you're spinning? Which way is up? So Earth is leaning for the next 4.5 days. Now that wobble is from the magnetic push. And leaning is a magnetic push also. But apparently it stops wobbling. It's hard to understand. Then we have a 270-degree roll, 2.5 days. 3 days, I don't know what that means, by the way. 3 days of darkness on one side of the Earth and 3 days of light on the other. Imagine being panicked and it's dark and there's no electricity. That is chilling. Sunrise west, 6 days. So we're going to see the sun rise in the west for 6 days. That will be weird. That takes us to day 26. A dramatic slowdown occurs after day 43, and rotation stops for 5.9 days just before the pole shift, and the pole shift lasts 1 hour. And so the Earth's crust will shift 6,000 miles. You know, the Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference. And a 90-degree shift then is 1/4 of that. It's about 6,250, I think. 6,250 miles traveled in 1 hour. The atmosphere doesn't come along without some slipping, and so you have 300-mile-an-hour winds. That's the final 7 weeks. I never saw this image before, but I think it's pretty neat. You're going to need a flashlight to see it at the right moment if you're on the dark side. This is the last card and perhaps the most important. There was a diagram here without any labels on it, and so I put Earth, Planet X, and the Sun because it took me a while to figure out which was which. Notice that Planet X is approaching from below the ecliptic plane. As it approaches the ecliptic plane, it will be visible from the northern hemisphere. But at some point, it rotates. As it crosses the ecliptic plane, it reverses, and the second diagram shows how it reverses. It also shows what the Earth does in response. These images show Planet X and the Sun as viewed from the side. The center line represents the ecliptic. The ecliptic is the flat plane that the planets orbit along. As Planet X approaches our Earth, it lies horizontally below the ecliptic. At this point, Earth is aligned to the north and south poles of the Sun. And I wonder why the Earth's north pole would match the Sun's north pole. Because magnets don't do that. And the Sun is on a cycle where it reverses its north and south poles now and then, and the Earth doesn't do the same. So I have questions. Planet X has to be moving very fast at this point. This is the halfway point. It was coming in up until it hits the ecliptic plane. And after that, it's going back out again, so the maximum speed is achieved right here. But the next sentence leaves me very confused. It says this is the position for some time before the final weeks. It is when Planet X pushes through the ecliptic that the situation begins to change rapidly and a severe wobble develops in Earth's orbit. The sun and moon will often be in erratic positions during this time. Let's go to the lower description and image. At this point, planet X starts to turn in a clockwise manner. So, whereas planet X's north pole was facing the sun on approach, it does a reversal, and its south pole is then facing the sun. And planet X aligns with the sun's north and south pole, as you can see in the diagram. At this point, planet X starts to turn in a clockwise manner. As planet X swings its north pole to the right, Earth moves her north pole away, falling on her side in a lean to the left. You have to look at the top picture. That's the way the Earth begins, and then it winds up in the bottom picture with the arrow pointing at it. The Earth is to the far left, planet X is in the middle, and the sun is to the far right. The sun is so much larger than planet X or the Earth that these diagrams fool you. They all appear about the same size. Remember, 98% of all the mass in our solar system is in the sun. And so Earth probably doesn't even show up as 0.0%. It's that small. The writer says, keep an eye on Polaris or the Southern Cross to determine this event. This will also bring the tail of planet X as facing the sun, so that's confusing. The next confusing thing is what it says next. This slow 270-degree roll continues, and Earth must avoid the north pole of planet X. All right, so as planet X is rotating around, doing a reversal, the Earth has to do a reversal also. I don't know what a 270-degree roll is, but let's go along with it. So the Earth is trying to avoid the north pole of planet X, which is facing us, the Earth. And so our north pole goes around to the backside with the south pole, Antarctica, facing the sun. The author says, the Earth's north pole avoids the north pole of planet X by pushing her north pole away, lying on her side. This produces 3 days of darkness. Well, the northern hemisphere is going to be dark for 3 days according to that. So I guess locking on to the Atlantic Rift already happened. And now we're in the pole shift. 3 days of darkness, the northern hemisphere is in the darkness, and the southern hemisphere, Australia, has 3 days of light. This is news because I didn't really understand the orientation of the Earth relative to planet X, nor did I play out in my mind that the North Pole of planet X is going to do a reversal and come at us, pushing our North Pole to the farthest point and attracting the South Pole and pulling it into Venus's orbit. If the Earth is pulled into Venus's orbit, it's going to get very hot for a few months. Until Earth goes back into its orbit, what force is going to push Earth back into its orbit? This sudden shift of the North Pole pointing up to the North Pole pointing to the left relative to the sun is going to cause a lot of sloshing of water, and the coastal areas are going to get drenched. I'm talking about big waves coming in, larger than you've ever seen before, knocking down steel and glass buildings, old brick buildings. It's going to destroy most coastal areas. There will be a lot of rebuilding afterward. So the northern hemisphere will have 3 days of darkness, and this is the first time I've ever become aware of that. Earth continues to roll in sync with planet X, and everything is turned upside down. This creates a condition of sunrise west, which lasts for 6 days. I don't see how the northern hemisphere can have a sunrise at all. The orientation is the northern hemisphere is in darkness. When Planet X leaves the ecliptic plane, Earth will then realign with the sun somehow, and I presume that the North Pole will be north, but that's just the core. The crust of the Earth shifts 90 degrees and it doesn't go back. Things are going to get very weird. The sun rising in the west is going to be startling to the people, but with waves sloshing into shore and 5.6 billion refugees trying to escape and all dying as they try to escape, and the military putting guns in their faces telling them, go back where you came from, there are no facilities, no water, nowhere to go to the bathroom, there's no food anywhere. Chaos will follow. Cannibalism, perhaps. And the military will be given orders, and they will either follow those orders or they will allow the people to go anywhere they want. Let's consider both. If they follow those orders, people who are trying to flee, trying to save their lives, are going to overwhelm the military. There are too many people. You let loose 5.6 billion people around the earth. The military will not be able to handle that many people. And so I see the military collapsing. I think they will be beaten to death if they don't. So they will be forced to use their guns and kill people, or they will be beaten to death if they attempt to hurt anybody. I don't know if people will leave their homes with guns. But handguns are a given. They're going to carry the handguns because they're going to be scared and they're going to want those handguns. Every checkpoint is going to search for guns, but they cannot put out enough checkpoints with this many people on the loose. Imagine 200 million people in the U.S. on the loose, on the run, trying to save their lives. There isn't a military force on the planet that could stop them. I think that people will turn on the city cops. If any military squadrons try to maintain law and order, they're going to be facing deluge crowds. And I think most of these crowds are going to be on foot, because I don't think you'll be able to pull in and get gasoline anywhere. Cars will be abandoned everywhere. And they will remain abandoned until gasoline starts flowing again, and that could take years. It would take months for planet Earth to right itself and resume normal rotation. It says right here, the sun will rise in the west for 6 days. How long can you live without water? Can you make it 6 days? You can't carry enough water to last 6 days. Do the math. Pencil it. You can't carry enough water for 6 days. People are going to be turned away everywhere they go. And they're going to come like a swarm of locusts. 200 million of them, minus those that perish from the big waves. All those people out there who say they want Planet X to hurry up and come, you don't know what you're in for. You don't want Planet X to pass through that ecliptic plane and head off where it came from, because it will be catastrophic. And that's all I have to say. Thanks for staying to the end. Have a wonderful day.